My name is Laura Anderson and I'm a hydronation scholar doing PhD research based between the University of Abertay and the University of Dundee, looking at climate resilience and community engagement. I think there's been a lot of great work actually happening in the city of Dundee, and that is the council, along with many other partners and stakeholders, have been engaging the communities in how to make Dundee water resilient. And they've done some great engagement with schools, and they've done great engagement creating things like pocket parks and rain gardens. And I think it's a lovely way to show that you can do a place-based approach, get people involved, really get people to understand what is water management, flood risk management, but also create some really beautiful pieces of infrastructure using nature-based solutions. And I think that's a nice example. Dundee, close to where my research is, that I've seen from all of these other stakeholders, and I know that that sort of thing is happening across Scotland, which is really encouraging. I think they've just been really open and honest with communities, and they've done some quite fun engagement involving things like summer barbecues with tokens for ice cream and burgers, to get people involved. And they've done a lot of engagement with children as well to actually help design what could a rain garden or a pocket park look like. And I think that's been something that has been really encouraging. But I would also say the collaboration has been really strong between the council, Scottish Water, lots of different stakeholders, even some of the academic institutions and the community. And I think when we collaborate broadly, that's where we get the best results possible. One of the biggest barriers to climate resilience is the community engagement. I don't think we're very good at community engagement in general, but especially when it comes to things like extreme weather, flooding, drought, and urban planning, we don't always engage communities well. So they feel distrust. They don't really believe that their voice is going to be listened to. We've got a history of ignoring what communities really want to see. And I think often we just have outdated requirements. We're not engaging people on social media where they spend so much time, or we're not doing fun engagement in a way that gets people encouraged to come and have their voice heard. And we're not reaching the most affected people. Quite often we get the same old voices, and they're so important, and we love community members who come and take part in things, but we're definitely not going broadly to say, are there young people, are there old people, are there people from different backgrounds, different socioeconomic situations, people who own homes, rent homes, all of these different things. And so I think we could do a lot better when it comes to community engagement, and also do it in place. We can't always do it remotely. We can't expect all communities to want to engage in the same way. And I think that's something that could be really influential in helping us become climate resilient if we bring those communities with us. I think ultimately it's just the knowledge needs to increase, and that's at all levels. Ultimately, individuals and communities need to know what is going to happen to their local area. I don't think people on the street would be able to tell you if their property or their business was at risk of things like flooding. So how do we get people to have that knowledge and have that understanding? Also, how do we get individuals to understand what's their responsibility? Do they have the right insurance? Are they speaking to their landlords about what's their responsibility versus what they could do themselves? And I think also local communities, do they know what to do if a disaster was to happen, if flooding was to occur, or extreme weather? And we've had so much extreme weather in the last few years, and that's something that is getting more extreme and more frequent. And so I think ultimately getting that knowledge up there is important. I think big infrastructure projects are great, and obviously we need to have those too, but ultimately it's about just getting people to understand what is the risk and what do they do about it. As a researcher, I have done a lot of community engagement as part of that, but right now I'm at the stage of writing up some policy recommendations to share with different stakeholders. But one thing I certainly always want to do more of is engaging with people. And that might be through my research, it might be through whatever job I get after that research, or also just in my local community. I moved to a coastal region, and actually we are, when you look up the maps, at risk of a lot of these things. And I need to also take responsibility to say, I'm aware of this, but what about my neighbours? What about my community members? So there's a lot I could do and others could do professionally in the research or the jobs that we do, but also just in our own communities. How are we engaging our neighbours and communities to make sure they understand this too? Really, I just think it's great to see such a widespread of people here. We've got people from the government, local authorities, consultancies, researchers, community groups, and it's really lovely to have us all in the same venue. And of course, the people contributing online. And I think it's just lovely to have these round conversations and actually feel we are singing from the same hymn sheet. We're all seeing the same problems and we all want to address them together. Ultimately, I love the networking opportunity, not so that I get to know lots of people, but actually because that's where you have these conversations where you can begin to collaborate. And it's been really lovely this year and in other years of hearing, actually, this speaker is here talking about this project because last year they met the right people And this is something that's managed to happen. So it's lovely to see those kind of full circle feedback loop moments where we're hearing case studies that have come about because of previous conferences that people have come to. I'm always encouraged that the conversations you can have over a coffee might actually turn into something that could be a case study in a future year.